maybe, and on a lighter tone, maybe all will be happy that I'm able to finish faster. So, having said that, very happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak and meet all of you all. I was hoping and I prepared hard so that I could live up to expectations and also spend some time with you, but unfortunately things were out of our control. So without much ado, I'll just start with this. What I've tried to cover here is actually give flavor on how deals are done in the real world and not focus too much on technical aspects, which I believe my eminent colleagues have covered a lot of over the past, I think, 2 sessions. So what I've tried to do here is actually what happens in the practical world. I prepared a case study on an actual acquisition and what are the steps that follows and how you adjust for everything. So I'll just start. So I'll dispense with these slides. Everybody knows profit is the motive of every corporation. So, and how they increase profit is actually by increasing EPS, trying to increase profit so that they are valued at a higher rate. This is, I have sourced this from UNTAD on the basic reasons why cross-border M&A activity happens. You'll see on the at the top, the reasons are technology, regulatory frameworks, capital market changes. In capital market changes, sometimes what happens is that the company actually wants to list abroad because of a higher valuation. For example, Make My Trip, if you can see, it's not listed in India, but it's listed abroad because it gets a higher valuation there. Some companies cannot list directly, or it takes a longer time for them, so they acquire a target and keep it listed there and merge their operations here from India to those capital markets where it is permitted for a reverse merger to happen. Then there are the more important reasons: access strategic proprietary assets. So for example, if I wanted to buy some technology which is not available, engineering firms do that. They acquire, Mahindra & Mahindra acquired a lot of companies in Germany for their forgings business because the technology was not there, and they've integrated that onto their platforms now. Again, market power and dominance. If I'm present in the US market, I acquire companies so that I can have more business in that geography. Achieve synergies, become larger, which is not always a good thing. Diversify and spread risks, exploit financial opportunities. What are the challenges? The biggest challenge is cultural issues. Before, I put it last, but it's the most important. That's why it's in capital form. Before you acquire anything in any country, it's important that you understand what are the nuances in that country, because it becomes very important during negotiations as well as analyzing a company. It gives you tremendous inputs, because in certain, so to give you an example, if I go to the US right now, I open a online retail platform and go to a Best Buy and tell him that you have to match this price, he does it without asking you. Okay, I'll match it. But if you do the same in a shop in India, the guy will ask you 10 questions. Warranty है, इसके अंदर आपको श्योर है कि आपको बराबर प्रोडक्ट मिल रहा है. That's, I'm just trying, this is a simple example to explain to you how different is. In the US, you can be very open and very forthright, and people understand. So in India, you have to be a little tactful, open the dialogue with maybe saying that, भैया आप इतना क्यों महंगा बेच रहे हैं? Things like that. So it's very important. Then there are differences in economic cycles, because US sees this bump, and every 10 years there is a recession in the US for 2 years. If you look at the history, every 10 years, so we can, I'll cross my fingers, but 2018 might be a bad year for the US. It always happens invariably, every 10 years there is a boom and bust. That is good also, because then for the next 10 years, all the flag gets shaken out and the good companies and sustainable companies remain. It's happened in 2007-8. We hope nothing happens. Because if something happens in the US, the whole world faces a problem. Differences in business environment. For all our accounting friends here, gap differences. Some countries are still, especially in Eastern Europe and some other countries, are still having their own. In China, they have a Chinese gap, which is, and you just can't understand financial statements. Laws and regulations. This is very important because every type of law has an impact on the acquisition, either increasing the price, either increasing the, as you see going forward, what happened in one of the cases, in the case study. Or it has, there are labor laws in Europe which are just amazing. For example, in France, there is a law which says that after 5 p.m., an employee cannot receive an email. So what a business has to do is to stop its server from sending out mails to employees. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, well, the employees themselves are against this law, but it is a law, so you have to comply with it. Yeah. And in France, you can't work for more than 218 days in a year, and 35 hours in a week. So that has, why I'm saying this is, that has an implication on your social, the HR structure that we follow there, as well as your costs. Right? Then, for all the tax, because this is the Chamber of Tax Consultants, transfer pricing is very important. In cross-border, you have to now every country is trying to garner revenues, right? Tax revenues. We have to be very careful on that. Limits or controls on foreign participations, that we are very aware of it in India. Certain sectors you can have only 49%, 78%, 76%, those kind of things are there. Then domestic tax breaks, and again I focus on the cultural issues. So I'll dispense with all this because this is what Parag and the other colleagues have already explained to you. We'll come to this. The acquisition process. The first thing is the target identification. So where do you get the targets from? You get them from investment bankers, you get them from your own business relationships. Others, there are a host of other factors. You just want to, you think one day you want to acquire something in, let's say, Botswana. So you do your entire analysis, find out which are the companies and approach them on your own. Second is information collection. So what you do is you identify the target, engage with them, ask them for some basic information. Then you go and meet the client for 1 or 2 days and try to understand the context behind that information. Then finally is confirmatory due diligence. From these inputs, what do you do? First is, before engaging, after engaging initially with the client, with the target, it's best that there is an agreement on the price, otherwise you just be wasting time. So you have an initial price around which you can work with. Right? And at every point in time, you have to check whether the earlier assumption based on which the price had been drawn up, you see it in the case study, whether they still stand. At every point when you are doing the information collection, the business due diligence and the confirmatory due diligence, whether the price and the assumptions around the price are actually still stands. So once you have an initial understanding of the price, it's best that you set out all the terms around which you will be doing the deal, which is captured in an initial term sheet, from which the SPA and the negotiations around the final SPA becomes easier, because then you all have already pre-agreed to some terms, some high-level terms. Then goes the SPA and negotiations, and then closing of the transaction. Now I'll come to the case study. Buyer is contemplating an acquisition in South Africa. The initial price is agreed in the term sheet at ZAR 1.2 million, which South African rand 1.2 million. At 10x of that. Buyer feels this price is very attractive vis-a-vis the standalone DCF value of the company. Buyer wants to acquire 100% in the business for operational reasons, because then we have all the flexibility. As for the transfer pricing study, margins of similar companies operating in South Africa are around 10% PBT. So we have to be very careful that after the acquisition we need to maintain that same margins. Otherwise the tax authorities will claim, you are diverting the profit to your Indian entity and levy tax. The free cash flow to firm is expected to go by 10% for both firms during 5 years, and terminal growth rate is 2%. VAT of the South African firm is 10%, VAT of the buyer is 17%. Buyer's FCFF have been converted to South African rand during this presentation. So this is the standalone income statement of the company. You will see that the EBIT is 150,000. Tax is at 19%, while the maximum marginal tax in South Africa is 33%. The company has a couple of items here which I would like to point out to you, which is R&D. It's writing off the entire R&D. It has, because of it is following IFRS, there are some financial derivatives costs included in the financial statements. And the company for the year has declared an acquisition it made. What we see down there is a calculation of the free cash flow to firm. The company makes 271,000 rand for this financial year as cash flow, free cash flow. So what we do is we come up with a DCF value of 4.4 million and the asking price is 1.2 million. So all of us are very happy. We are getting we are getting an asset at 25% of its value. But then we sign up a term sheet and we move on to the due diligence phase. Now, what I had actually wanted to do is take you through all of the due diligence findings and seek your inputs, but unfortunately I just move on to the inputs. So you do an entire due diligence where various people are involved. Your business tells you that sales, your business side, which sales people, operation people tell you that sales can be increased by 1 million per annum. There is no major impact on cost, they only increase in proportion to the sales. And your margins can be expanded as a reason. What is the impact? You say that the impact is acquiring the target can be very lucrative. And you suggest what is the mitigant if you see a risk and the action that you take. In this case, the sales people are recommending that we should go ahead with this deal and include these 1 million revenue in the synergy financial statements. Then you have appointed a legal advisor. He tells you of a peculiar law in South Africa which is called Black Economic Empowerment Law. Now, I'll take you through what that law says. So in South Africa, any enterprise has to have a Black Economic Empowerment score that runs similar to a VAT concept, right? So when a company procures from the vendor, it checks the BE score, right? And anyone having a BE score of less than 2, companies don't procure from them because they have economic concessions. Based on BE law, mining concessions are granted to companies and the government grants certain benefits to a company who is itself at a level 3 or 4 of BE. Why they have done this system? They have done this system because all of us know South Africa had apartheid for a long period. They want to include these people who are excluded from the economy to apartheid and uplift the entire system. So this BE score becomes very important. Right now the company is actually owned by an apartheid affected person, so he has full compliance. But when I acquire 100% of this company, I immediately become non-compliant with this law and I lose the entire benefit and nobody will purchase from me in the entire South Africa. Coming back to this, so my BE laws require that the current shareholder or an equivalent apartheid affected person has to hold 25% plus one share. Then it gives me a better BE rating. Well, was that value 25% of the FCFF actually a good value? Now I start to wonder. Because this becomes a deal breaker. I want 100% because I want total flexibility. Having another shareholder with a power to block my resolutions in that company becomes a problem for me. So, well, I have this issue. I have to negotiate with this guy once again. Then I have a finance person. He tells me that unfunded pension liability is 100,000 South African rand. Annual cost of 10,000 for employees are not booked. Financial derivative costs included in the P&L are only temporary accounting issue, has got nothing to do with tax. So what is my mitigation and action? I will include in the standalone and synergy financial statements. I appoint an HR person to do an HR due diligence from the legal perspective. He tells me that I have to, as per BE law, I have to spend 2% of my revenues on developing the skills of the apartheid affected persons in that country. It is required by law. Right now, the person doesn't spend, so it's not in his P&L. One more thing. So we have to look at now we have to start looking at the value very carefully. My lawyer tells me that the company has a litigation and there is a potential payment of 1 million ZAR, which is almost the courts will decide against me. So then I have to negotiate the price again, right? Because my DCF value, if I go back here, there was no debt and there was no contingent liability included here. Then my tax due diligence person tells me that tax holiday ends in 2 years. And then the marginal maximum tax will apply. So again, I have to change my DCF. Now, my tax guy again reconfirms that I have to have a 10% margin in the South African entity as per the transfer pricing study done. My finance guy tells me that 50% of the R&D expenses are for improvement of current product, balance is for new product development. So what do I have to do? I have to consider in my financial statements. My finance due diligence person again tells me that 20,000 revenue is not recurring, it is just other income incurred in this year. So what do? I adjust my P&L again. And my HR team tells me that currently we don't have any managerial capability in South Africa. So I have to have that person continue for some period of time so that it stabilizes the operation, and within that time I build up my own managerial capability in South Africa. And this is correlated to the BE finding, which says that I have to have an apartheid affected person holding 25% plus one share. So now I draw up a new financial statement after incorporating the impact of the due diligence. So my revenues now from 100,000 come down to 80,000 because of due diligence finding number 9, which is 20,000 revenues one-off. So now I start adjusting, and I have to do another DCF value because I have to see whether my initial 4.4 million is actually 4.4 million or lesser or higher. Then my employee expenses have increased by 10,000 because my finance guy told me that I have to pay 10,000, which is not booked. My R&D expense is reduced. Why? Because 50,000 was for normal product development, which is actually operating expenses, but 50,000 was for new product development, which should actually be treated as capital expenditure and not as a normal P&L expenses while the company is writing off. This is where the gap becomes important. Financial derivatives impact I remove, and this is not a financial statement in the accounting perspective, but more from trying to derive a financial free cash flow to firm, starting from the right point, right, and looking at multiples. I'm trying to find out what is my stable operating income from the business that I take over. So I have to take out all the trash which comes in, Today, because of IFRS coming in and a lot of fair value accounting, etc. coming in, it becomes very difficult to determine what is the true operating result of a company. The only two ways you can do is try to get a lot of information. That is why information collection becomes very important. Try to normalize the financial statements or look at the cash flows. There are only cash flows, unless somebody manipulates bank accounts, you can't do much with the cash flow, either direct or indirect. So one thing is always correlate your cash flows with the profit to see what is the level of cash flows that are coming into a business, which will actually tell you what is happening with the business. Rather than looking at financial statement now, it's just become very difficult to understand the true operating profitability of that company. Then you remove the financial derivatives impact, you take out the goodwill impairment, and because you included a 50,000 ZAR R&D expenses, you took it out as CapEx, you bring in an amortization of R&D expenses just to see what is your profitability. So you arrive at a new EBIT because your tax guy has told you that the normalized tax rate is 33%. You take the normalized tax rate, and then you come at a PAT. Right? And your FCFF now becomes 280,000. Right? Vis-a-vis 271,000. So this is a positive. Your FCFF will actually increase. But again, let's see. So this is a standalone DCF value. As I showed you, there was no debt. Now because of your DD, you've got two items which are debt-like, right, which is an unfunded pension, and then you've got a contingent liability which is almost a liability. So you reduce it from the valuation, which is the 1 million litigation impact. Any questions? And then you come at an equity value of 3.5 million. So what did you start with? Around 4.5 million. Now you come to 3.4 million. So, but still, 1.2 million vis-a-vis 3.5 million. You're still doing good. But are you? Is there a price reset required right now? I'll take you. He is asking for 1.2 million. Right? You are at a post-DD adjusted value of 3.5 million right now. So right now there is no price required, price adjustment required. Right? I think I missed one. Yeah. Because of the BEE law, you go to this person because that is very important, and you need to ask him whether he will continue or not. But he is not going to continue for free. Right? And he knew about this BEE law will be happy. So he says, yeah, I will continue, but you give me 5 million rand after 5 years for my 25% plus 1 value. Now we have to actually see whether that 1.2 million plus this 5 million doesn't make sense. What did I do? Post DD, my value has come to 4.3 million, which is 1.2 million minus the NPV of the 5 million. Because I am going to pay only after 5 years. Right? So I have to discount it. The discounted value of that 5 million comes to 3.1 million at a 10% bar. So now I have a price of 4.3 million. Right? My post DD valuation is 3.5 million. Will I drop this deal?
You asked for a lower price.
Sorry?
You asked for a lower price.
He will not agree, and I have to acquire this. Because he knew this. That's why he quoted a price of 1.2 million. And he had kept this negotiation lever with him. That he knew that the PE law will apply and he will become indispensable. So now he can dictate his terms. And right now, I've only looked at, but then I remember that right now, I've only looked at standalone value. Right? What about the 1 million revenue that I can create at very high margins in this company? Okay. My DD has told me that. My first finding has told me that sales can be increased by 1 million. Right now, how much is he doing? He is doing 1 million or 80,000. Right? 800,000 is up. So what will I do? I mean, should I drop this deal? Okay. Now we look at the synergies. What is synergies? Synergies is the additional value that would be generated by combining two firms, creating opportunities that would not have been available to these firms operating independently. It's very important because a South African firm on its own cannot increase its revenues. I, operating on my own, cannot create these revenues. I need that asset to create these revenues. So that 1 million additional sales can save me and save this deal if I really want to do this deal. These are the types of synergies which, I mean, I'm sure we have gone through it. I'll just go to the other part of the case study. So now this is my synergy income statement and cash flows. It's correlated to all my DD findings. It's very important to correlate your financials to your DD findings, but you've spent so much time and money doing it. So now we are revised, and I start with my adjusted financial statements. My revenues now become 1.8 million. Operating expenses come to 400,000, which increases in proportion to the increase in revenues. Employee expenses are 410,000, which is DD finding number 3A2. They had not booked those 10,000 ZAR per annum which I need to pay. Plus my R&D, which is again 50,000, balance is capitalized. Then I include an amortization of R&D expenses. I include skill development expenses. Right? 2%, which is DD finding number 4. 2% for skills development, which is not there in this standalone. So what I want to draw your attention to is that I'm including positive as well as negative synergies. When we look at synergies, we unfortunately look at only positive. Right? But we have to look at everything, positive or negative, and give the impact into the financial statements to derive the free cash flow. I've included tax at a normalized rate. What is my valuation cash flow is now 560 to 280. Now again I'm hoping maybe I can still do this deal. So now I've done the synergy value. This shows me two things. Right? I've done a synergy value of the seller, which comes to 8.1 million, and I've done a synergy value of the combined firm, right, which comes to 23 million. Now there are three aspects here: valuation of the seller with the synergies, DCF value of the seller with the synergies, the DCF value of the buyer independently, and the combined firm. What will I take as the synergy to be attributed to this deal? The standalone synergy valuation of the seller or the synergy value for the combined operation? Why? On a standalone basis, I valued this company at 3.5 million. Now, with the synergies, it has increased to 8.1 million, keeping all the parameters same. Right? So, what should be my synergy be? 3.5, 8.1 minus 3.5, or 23 minus 17? Please, anybody? Can you tell me the reason why?
Because after merger, you combine entity.
I'm not merging it. Not legally merging it. Sorry. But you are on the. Tell me if you can
The
explain.
idea is that combined entity, what is the value it will generate for the business, less existing business, because I am going to buy the synergies. So existing business valuation will be reduced, and that is what I will get the price.
Exactly. Very nice. Notice what happens to the WACC. Right? The WACC. Now, what would we do looking at a combined business? We'd say that this is purely and buyer is operating in India. So I apply the WACC of the buyer and see the valuation. But I have not used the WACC of the buyer. I have used a weighted WACC, weighted on the free cash flows. Why? Can anybody answer that, please? What is WACC? WACC is what?
If not legally merging, it will be difficult to use a weighted back, because if you go to a data, for example, without merging the company, the debt ratio, the debt cost will not go down.
I'm concerned with the capital market. I'm sorry, I'm just countering you so that we can develop this thing further. I'm a debt-free company. I don't want debt. Why? But it is a 75% owned company. From an accounting perspective, when I publish my financial statements in India, I will publish a consolidated financial statement. Just to answer this, I have a current business based out of India, where the cash flows are coming only from India, right? Which is riskier in the eyes of the investor. So the minute I generate more cash flows, right, the investors discount it at a higher weighted average cost of capital because they're coming from one country. Minute I diversify somewhere else with lower risk, right, the investors will perceive my entire firm to be less riskier than what it was earlier. Right? Because South Africa has 10% WACC. This company has 10% WACC. South Africa has a lower risk. So effectively, South Africa has a lower risk-free rate and a lower risk premium, which means the cash flows are much less riskier compared to me. So when I'm diversifying, I'm acquiring something abroad, I'm actually reducing my risk. And also I'm growing faster, so the investors will now value me from the perspective of a geographically well spread out company vis-a-vis having operations in one country, which reduces the risk to the investor. So what I'm trying to explain is, value each company on a standalone basis based on cash flows, where the cash flows come from, not based on where the company is incorporated in. Because investors will look at it in the manner where is it generating. So for example, I'll take the example of IT companies. What happens in the stock market when the dollar goes up? Or rather, the value of the rupee falls. IT companies are automatically, their valuation increases. Why? Because the main currency, where are the cash flows coming from? This is empirically validated. So this is very important to remember. Whenever you are doing deals or whenever you are valuing companies abroad, always check where the cash flows are coming from. In countries like Brazil and all, which have tremendous hyperinflation, companies which have exposure to local currency and local businesses are always lesser value than a multinational company which has exposure to other geographies, because the cash flows are much riskier. And to answer your question, why I won't take this 8.1 billion as the synergy value on a standalone basis, because on an overall basis, to evaluate this deal, on an overall basis, I am actually adding more value to myself by acquiring this company, which represents the difference between 4 million and 6 million. So if you see, 8.1 million minus 3.1 million is 4.6 million. Standalone adjusted DCF value of this firm, operating as it is, was 3.5 million, which is here, 3.5 million. I added synergies in this company and created an additional 4.6 million. But at the same time, I created 1.6 million additional value just by acquiring this firm into my own operations, because the WACC reduced. Because now the investors are perceiving me less risky, because I've diversified into a less risky geography. Had I diversified into a more risky geography, all these cash flows, the cash WACC would have increased, so the synergies would have reduced. Very important. Otherwise, I'll show you how important this is to getting the yield. Okay? So, bear with me. So, I've created additional 1.6 million of value for myself just by acquiring this entity and acquiring a riskier stream of cash flows. But what is my value I have to pay to the person? 4.3 million, 3.1 million plus 1.2 million. Right? How much of the synergies am I parting with? Almost 70%. Should I still do this deal? Okay, let's go forward. The chart which you had seen, that beautiful chart. Price. I just want to point out why very important difference between price and value. Price comes up from negotiation, and what is the perceived price by a seller and a perceived price by the buyer. But value is something totally different, which only comes out from generating cash flows. It's important. I am comparing price against value. Value is a function of the cash flows, the risk of the company, and its financial profile, right? But price is something totally different. Both are disconnected. So what I am trying to point out here is always compare price against value at each point in time. At each point in time, which is what I am taking you through here. So now the synergy standalone, I am just comparing standalone values here. Synergy standalone value is 8.1 million. My post DD value is 4.3 million. Right? My post DD adjusted standalone value is 3.5 million. So I am good that synergy has saved my day, but when the buyer says no, I only want to part with 50% of the synergy value. Here, how much I will part with? 70%. Now what do I do? Because I have exhausted all options. What should I do? He says I will not do the deal if I have to pay 70%. I don't know, I want to earn only 30%. I don't only want to keep 30% of the synergy. So do I have, can I save this? Please. So I go through back to my DD report and I look at it very closely. He is not ready to reduce his 5 million extra price to continue. He wants that, I need it, so I am in a fix. Yeah, there's something else. So what do? I go and negotiate. So he says, okay, I'll continue. You continue, but I tell him I will never declare dividend from this company for 5 years, at least. Why did I tell him? I'm already paying him 5 million after 5 years. If he gets dividend, then his value increases, no? So I will not pay him dividend. You continue. I'll meet your price. You continue. But I will not give dividends from this company. Otherwise, he will take 25% plus 1 share dividend, right? Which again affects my value. So I will not give it. I negotiated hard on an unfunded pension with him, saying that you have to fund it. It is not my problem. You created this problem. So he says, okay, I will fund 100,000. Now I am focusing to increase value because these two items are still not coming to play in my negotiation. I have been talking to him on price, comparing it against value, but what I can do something with these two items. Right? So first item I have already taken care. It goes out. Now he has to fund it, he will pay me money. There is still a big 1 million which I see of litigation, which he is telling me no, I will not do anything about it, you have to take that risk. So what do? I go to an insurance company, and abroad there are insurance companies who take out litigation insurance. So already when you have a litigation, you pass on that risk to the insurer for a premium. So I tell him, you obtain, I will negotiate with the insurer, you just pay the premium. So in the future, if anything happens, right, my lawyer has told me that this is 100%, you have to pay 1 million to the vendor. But the insurance company has its own lawyers and underwriters and all who assess the risk, and for a premium, they are ready to take on the liability. So what do? I just outsource that risk. So it doesn't now have to feature in my valuation because I don't have to pay for it. And the seller is paying for the insurance policy. So it doesn't have to factor into my cash flows, it's not going to happen. And I had one small little item in the due diligence which is important, that I don't have any local management. So, and from a business perspective, it's very important that somebody manages this entity going forward on a proper basis. So I tell him that I point the responsibility to him that I'm paying you 5 million, you better get me proper people, you better integrate my entire operations to this company, and you train the local staff. I will pay, but you have to train. You have to set up the entire system because I don't know anybody, which is very important for me to generate that synergy value. I have to set in, operations are very important, I have to integrate. So then these are suggestions. Now let's see the impact. $7.4 million is the synergy value because those two items went out, right? Debt and unfunded pension. Now 58%. Now what do we do? I leave it to you. Now we don't have any other options. 8%. So it's now purely a business decision whether it's only an 8% extra that he's sharing about what he wants to share. And if he wants to do something very wants to do this, he's still generating 3-4 million for himself. So what do you want to do?
Go ahead with it.
It's your call. That's all, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. I'm sorry I wanted to do a lot of interactivity because I thought taking a feedback and making things would also, that's why I just made this case law which I thought will be more helpful rather than going into the technical aspects of a lot of things which you've already read. Because there is no difference between a valuation technically between any content. I've just tried to touch upon all the other aspects which will impact the valuation.
So promise a special session on this.
Sorry?
Promise a special session on this since you're going away just now. So promise.
I will. We have to ask. And then I'll come up with another case study.
Can I share your email ID with that?
Please. You can. You can share my, I'm contactable over LinkedIn if any. I'll email this presentation to all of you. And maybe the chamber can do that. And any personal questions anytime, please feel free to reach out. I'll be happy to answer.
Those who came in late, I think Niraj has some emergency at office, so he wound up his session in 45 minutes. Otherwise, he was to have a lot of interaction on his case study. So that is because those who came early, late, I think, won't know as to why he wound up so fast. So nonetheless, yes, the contents were very good, but because of the lack of...
I think I couldn't interact much more. I wanted to interact because every time there was a 15-minute pause. I had prepared for this. Every time the presentation you would have seen was to elicit responses from you. But I'm so sorry about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You are very good participants. Thank you. Sorry. Can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't have to rush. Thank you. Thanks. Sorry.
Typically, programs, we run late, but here we are 1 hour ahead of schedule.
Sorry.
So I requested the next speaker to come early, and I think he has arrived. And
It's phone.
this is yours?
No.
The name plate.